All right, welcome back from that short break, and it is time for the break gist on this show this morning. We're talking about the doctors who at one point made some requests and then submitted that to the federal government, and the federal government set up a committee, and they made a statement. When I read some of these stories, I said, look, the federal government only inaugurated a committee to stall the process and make sure that time is wasted, and they do not have the time. So they are asking the federal government to follow through with the agreements they had. And according to what you said earlier, 19 has been met, just one left, and that is the core issue they are trying to work on. I mean, that says a lot about how the government has failed the health sector. That says a lot about how the health sector has also been on the high horse, saying, look, we are not settling for less. And when two elephants fight, according to what the elders will say, the grass beneath suffers, and that is the health of the people out there. Doctors are not on call. Doctors are not on seat. What exactly will be the fate of an average Nigerian that goes to an hospital in the country?
It's actually very sad, and I think there was a warning strike before this indefinite strike, and even at that, the government still did not do the needful. And then now they're saying, I read a tweet yesterday, they are saying that, if federal government, refuse to respond to their demands, I mean, respond to them fully, because, I mean, just like you mentioned, I was even talking about this with my analyst yesterday, he mentioned that if the government can fulfill 19 out of 20, I mean, why should the doctors say that they are not going to, leave everything and then go back to work? But then, now they're saying that, the federal government is trying to play politics with all of this. I watched a video yesterday where a lady who is a doctor said that, the federal government is supposed to pay them about 11 billion naira, but then about 500 million naira was sent. So what should they do with 500 million naira? And the government came out to say that we've settled NAD. So we don't know who to believe in this case now, and it's a very sad reality. And then I don't know, there's a video I would love us to watch before we continue this conversation where a lady in Abuja, she's a sickle cell patient, and then she lamented bitterly about how she's not been able to get some things done because of the strike.
Lost some of her friends.
Lost some of her friends. She said she's unable to remove her stitches because strike is going on. She said she did some tests, but then she's unable to get a result because of the strike. Let's take a look at the video, honestly, before we move on this morning.
I cannot even keep. Nigeria is happening to me. I cannot even keep quiet. It's quite unfortunate that this video might not go viral, but I pray it does, because it should actually speak to all of us. Which way, Nigeria, which way? How will they move? What's happening? What's going on? For the past 2 to 3 weeks now, if I'm not even mistaken, there's been an ongoing medical strike. Hospitals are on strike, and it's telling on us as sickle cell warriors. I am a sickle cell warrior. I live in Abuja. People say I don't look it, but that's not even the essence of this video. I am a sickle cell warrior. If you go through my videos here, you'll see that just this year alone, I've had multiple surgeries due to complication from sickle cell. Why am I making this video? I'm making this video to tell you guys that this is affecting us. It's affecting me. Because this last surgery I had, I didn't do it in a private hospital. Now they're on strike. As I'm making this video, I still have my stitches on. As at yesterday, I'm meant to take out the stitches, but then strike. I had pleural effusion, and they drained out fluid from me. They inserted a pipe, that's a chest tube. You can check my video, you will see it. They sent in that fluid, a sample of it, to the pathologist to see if it's malignant, that if it's cancerous. But then I can't get the result because strike. This is something everybody's supposed to be talking about. As at last week, it was Regina Daniels and Ned gist that was all over the internet. This week now is Jollof and VDM's fight. This is not important.
Honestly, it's very sad. It will take a lot from anyone who decides to watch this video and not get emotional. I mean, because it's sad that, we are so distracted that, our focus is more on things that really do not, matter. And then we do not talk about the things that matter, because, I mean, a lot of persons don't even know that doctors are on strike in Nigeria. It's really that sad, honestly. And I don't know how we got to this place. I don't think the federal government should play politics with this matter, honestly.
Let's add to the conversation a bit of data. So I checked what Punch posted in March 2025 about the number of resident doctors currently, according to the NARD reports that they gave them, that we have about 11,899 resident doctors as we speak. And if you consider that, so it means NARD says it represents about 40% of all Nigerian doctors, according to them. And if you have to check that doctor to patient ratio, you discover one thing, that the report that is straining, doctor, because the actual figure is going to be doctor to population ratio. Is going to be one doctor would serve about 9,083 patients. One doctor to 9,083 patients. That is a massive figure. So by comparison, the World Health Organization, WHO, recommends a ratio of about one doctor per 600 people.
There was a time it was one doctor to about 10,000 patients, according to WHO.
Okay, so now I think what the WHO, according to allafrica.com, says is that one doctor to about 600 patients is what is acceptable. Now, but what we have in Nigeria is one doctor to about 9,000 patients. That is, it's quite a lot. So you want to talk about the workload for the doctors, that is also a conversation. I'm not saying it is right to go on industrial strike at every chance to go. I'm saying that it is also important to note that the demands of these people should be met. Now, again, according to another form of data, also on the Punch newspaper, it says that some resident doctors work an average of 106.5 hours per week, with surgical residents working more, over 122 hours per week. And you don't want to know what that can be on the brain drain that can happen to resident doctors in the country, Nigeria. Now, that is even an interplay of what is happening across board. Should we talk about the brain drain? Should we also talk about the supply of new doctors? And should we talk about something quite important, geographic distribution? You would agree with me also that there's a disparity between this. So I'm going to quote another data that says that, there's a significant regional disparity, per the state of the health of the nation. For example, the report states that 62% of medical professionals are in southern states, 28% in northern states, and 10% in the FCT. So you can tell from these that some places are going to be underserved. It's a no-brainer. Everybody will get to say, okay, so if you live in certain places, remote places, for example, you will not get as much as you should get. Now, we are still talking about the fact that we have the brain drain in the sector. We are talking about the fact that doctors are traveling out of the country. Some are not even finishing their residency before they travel. Like you used to say that the moment they are convocating or inducting, they already have their bags at the airports, which is also a thing that we see. But we cannot really always blame the NARD, because these guys are just as important for this nation to survive. In fact, this lady that was lamenting, she's just one out of many, one out of 1,000 or even a million that having this problem. So what do we say to this? We need to really work on these things. If this data proves to us that there's a lapse in that particular sector, there's something to be catered to, there's something to be done effectively. That's why she was referring to the issue of VDM and the other fight that everybody's taking. I mean, those things, we should not make a force of those things. There's no big deal about those things as much as we have people dying in the country. That should be the priority of the government. That should be the priority of the federal government, I mean to say. They should do something about this. One, okay, so for example, if you say you want to give me something that you want, that I deserve, and out of everything you're giving me a car, a house, but the only thing you did not give is my health. You've not given me anything, because just even with the cars and the house, or the houses, I meant to say, I can still die. So what's the point? What is more important is the integral part of that decision or that demand. The government should meet that integral part of the demand. If you say you've done 19, do 20.
And apart from even doing 19 now, I think I don't know, the government is trying to play politics with all of this. When you say you've done 19, I mean, to what extent have you been able to fulfill those demands? Because you can actually, just do little thing about one of the demands and you say, okay, we've been able to fulfill this demand. And speaking of the working hours, not posted recently to say that the government should regulate their working hours, because, I mean, most of the doctors are exhausted because, I mean, of the number of hours that they need to work for. Because there's one thing I need us to know. If you're exhausted as a person, person, you know, your best cannot really come out. You are still performing, but then your best will remain in obscurity for the longest. So government should find a way to regulate their work hours and then make sure that if they need to employ more other persons, but then they need to actually improve their salary structure too. A lot of persons are not willing to work in Nigeria as a doctor. A lot of persons, they are doctors, but they are doing something else. Not because there's no job for them, but they know that, okay, they are going to stress themselves and they're not even get paid the way they're supposed to get paid. So it's really a sad one, honestly. Government should stop playing politics with the health sector.
You might, just before we leave this particular topic, I think the government, the state has actually failed too many Nigerians. We have seen people who have lost their lives just because the government failed to do the needful. As much as some people would want to push the blame to the doctors right now, thinking, oh, out of 20, you have gotten 19. How effective are the 19 of the agendas that was placed before the federal government? How significant are the other 19 to the just one that is missing as we speak? So I think it will be an injustice to the medical association to say, look, you have gotten 19 out of 20. Let's check holistically of what importance are the 19 that has already been attended to, and that's that one that has not been touched. I think it is really a disservice to the doctors. But then, if we look at the current situation, I was talking to someone about how we have failed in the health sector. There are basic things the government has to provide for its people, and that includes security, which is obviously lacking in the country. The health sector is failing. What exactly are we getting right in Nigeria? I don't think we are doing anything. We have gone 100 steps backward instead of going forward in the last few years, and I think it is totally wrong. The government should do something about it as we speak. Look at the young lady who was talking. She made mention that she has lost some of her friends due to this particular issue, and she's even fearing for her own life as we speak, because she has stitches on her that has not been changed in the last how many weeks? That's 2 weeks. She went through a particular test. She doesn't even know the results. She doesn't know her state of health as we speak, because doctors are not at their stance. You might want to talk about patriotism, that they should keep working. As a trader out there, will you keep going to your marketplace if you are not making anything out of it? You will definitely get something else doing.
Some doctors have fainted in the past.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Nobody should blame the doctors for what is going on. Now, let's check this particular report by Lancet Global Health Commission, which was a report estimated that 376,039 deaths in Nigeria in 2016 as a result of insufficient access to quality healthcare. 376,000 Nigerians died because the federal government failed to do the needful. Now, let me go forward. Specifically, 122,664 died from poor quality care, and 253,374 died from non-utilization of the healthcare system that is not even in existence. Now, let's look at this. Somewhere in Nigeria, the government has earmarked about $20 billion just to renovate a government house. I mean, that's really a no-brainer. Do you know how many primary healthcare centers that will build across the states? Pick one local government and build one quality primary healthcare center. Place it in a strategic location that everyone will have access. You cannot do this. But you all travel out for health. You all travel out on medical pilgrimage. You know how you take care of yourselves. Some of them don't buy drugs in Nigeria. They order drugs from abroad. And we know how you take care of yourselves. You know how much you get as allowances on a monthly basis. You know how much salary these people get. And some of them, after 4 years, they are richer than someone they are 2,000 times richer than someone that has worked for 35 years. What is the fate of an average Nigerian? I think this is really a disaster waiting to happen. In fact, it is happening already. I just hope that we can nip it in the bud, because if the people fear for their lives, and Nigerians will have to go to Cameroon, will have to go to Benin Republic, Niger for healthcare service, I think we are getting it wrong, and we have to stop it right here.
Honestly, for us to stop it, I think we need to stop lying to ourselves. I mean, there was a time that the Minister of Health came out to say that, oh, health is, I think he said above 70%.
That's because we are under-emphasizing what is obvious. It is crystal clear that the healthcare system has failed.
It's not working.
Let's press it head on.
And then speaking about drugs, you mentioned something about drugs. I watched some videos, I think some months ago, and some persons complained bitterly about the increase in the price of drugs. Some persons cannot afford their basic drugs. I mean, all the sickle cell patients, a lot of persons, they cannot afford it. The increase is not even 50%. So some of them 100% increase. How are they supposed to cope in an economy that is dangling?
Very quickly, a few weeks ago, I had cough and I went to a pharmacy to just get drug that usually should not cost me more than 1,000, 2,000 naira. You know those drugs you buy. And within the space of an hour, I already spent 15,000. And I was wondering if I could afford it, how much more someone in a village that can't even afford to eat 3 or 3 is too much. Just a square meal in a day.
Yeah. So let me also take it from this angle before we wrap it up. We have about 774 local councils, and that's very important. How many, if we break it down, how many medical centers are in those local councils? How many can we pick that are functional, not just moribund? You know, that's
there are some that when you get there, lizards and alligators will be
the ones to attend to you. But that's even one of the issues. I think you also mentioned something that is quite important. When you were stating the figures, there's a chance we think about these things as numbers. These are people. These are human lives. These are people that could be my friend,
not just
my family members. They are not numbers. They're not statistics. They are not data. They are human beings. People who have dreams, who have directions, people who have things they are doing, aspirations, who can add to society. These are not just numbers. So I think what the government in a way might see is the number. Okay, so how many people are dying? That's not the case. How many, you say how many people? One person that dies affects a nation, especially if the person is a prospective, leader in the country. So you are losing our leaders. We are losing the resources, human resources we should, pump into. So this is what I'm trying to say. Any nation of the world that does not put on priority list the lives of its people would always fail. And this is the case we have in the country.
Honestly, and it's very sad. I just hope that the right persons that can speak to the president, will do a good job, at this time. Because, I mean, it's sad that, the government will say A, now to come and say D, not even B, and then we don't know who to believe, and then everything is just, confusing. And a lot of persons are distracted. The government is even distracted. Can they face the issue?
This week we were speaking about distraction.
Honestly.
That Nigerians are distracted. Within the space of a minute or two, they have forgotten what the problem is or what the pain is. They are already talking about what VDM is doing on the plane with Mr. Jollof. They are talking about what Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is doing with the Senate President. That really is not a national issue. It's a personal problem that should be solved on a personal basis. Nigerians should hold the government accountable for what they are doing and what they are doing that is wrong. Even when you have a policy that is working, you still have to put them on their toes to make sure that they follow through. Unfortunately, Nigerians forget easily. And when these issues happen, who will bear the brunt? And there is a particular tagline I used to say a few years ago that I think Nigerian leaders, Nigerian politicians, they see what Nigerians are doing as a Cartoon Network. So when they want to smile or when they want to go for therapy, they just want to enjoy themselves, they just go to the pages of the newspaper or maybe put on the television and see what exactly Nigerians are saying, and then they laugh and they put it off and then go back to what they are doing.
Honestly,
because I don't think they know exactly what Nigerians are feeling. If you have family members like that who was crying, busy crying for her life, she knows that if care is not taken, the end is near. If you have a family member, a daughter like that, I don't think you sit down and leave people in that situation.
Until when can she afford private hospital? Because she mentioned something that she's been able to go to private hospital, but a lot of persons cannot afford it. President Trump was saying something recently that Nigerians like to make a joke out of every single thing. Even the important ones. So you'll not be wondering that I think this is a big issue for this country, but then you go online, people make videos, a lot of things, and you begin to wonder if this is really a problem in Nigeria.
Did I give up on the level of seriousness we have in this country? It was just a few days ago when the factional chairman of the PDP came and was telling Donald Trump to interfere in intra-party politics. That was the day I gave up. These are the set of people leading us in Nigeria. I think we have made a very big mistake. And the time is coming, 2027. As an average Nigerian, you have the chance to correct your wrongs.